As we all know from having passed Law of Attraction 101, whatever we give our attention to will grow in our lives. If we use our powerful attention to dwell on lack and limitation or what's not going well, we'll manifest more of what's not going well. If we put our attention on what's good and abundant in our lives, then we will manifest more goodness and abundance. So, why is it that even when we're putting our attention in all the right places, sometimes we just feel energetically thwarted? Hi, I'm Deborah Poneman with Yes to Success, where I share knowledge and tools for you to create your ultimate life. And there are probably a lot of reasons why we might feel thwarted in our efforts to live our ultimate life, but one just might be that there are too many people around us whose thoughts aren't supporting our success and happiness. Although I truly believe that everyone is doing the best they can given their own life circumstances, you might want to just ask yourself, are there people in my life who are creating a field of resistance that might be holding me back? Are there people who, for one reason or another, might not want me to succeed? Is it really the smartest thing to do to continue to have these people in my environment? So I want to share with you a powerful experience that I had in the emergency room that made me ponder this question more deeply. The question is, can other people's thoughts really have an effect on my happiness, success, and well-being? Well, here's what happened. So one day I thought I was coming down with the flu, but usually when I feel like I'm coming down with some flu, I just knock it right out. I use some golden seal, echinacea, a little vitamin C, some electrolytes. But even though I executed my usual routine, as the days passed, I realized that this one was not going away so quickly. And after about 4 days, I was sicker than I ever remember having been. In fact, the morning of the 5th day, I was lying in bed and thinking, I could die here today. I lived alone. So what I did was I called my local energy healer and I asked him to help me. And he said, and I quote, I will help you, but you have to promise you'll do exactly what I tell you to do. And by that time I could hardly speak or even whisper. I said, anything. And he said, call 911 immediately. Well, I didn't even have the strength to call 911, but he did. And when the paramedics arrived, they had to break into my place and they asked what hospital I wanted to go to. And I told them Evanston, which was about 10 minutes away. And they commiserated and decided that I might not survive the 11-minute ride to my chosen hospital. So they decided to take me to a hospital around the corner that was like 3 minutes away. And my blood pressure at that time was like 57/28. Not good. And it turned out I had an acute sepsis with not only one, but 2 types of deadly bacteria in my blood. So when I arrived in the emergency room, and just by the way, I had about 50% chance of living. You have 50% chance when you have one, when you have an acute sepsis, because it had really gone far. And I had 2. I'm an overachiever. So when I arrived at the ER, I started to lose consciousness. And I guess I had what you might want to term a near-death experience. I didn't go through any dark tunnel or see a being of light. I just noticed that when my eyes were open, I could see everyone running around in the room trying to save my life. And when my eyes were closed, I could also see what was going on in the room. But I saw, when my eyes were closed with my inner eye, my inner vision, that everything was orchestrated by this radiant divine light. And it was this moving light. And I saw that every movement of like the doctor's hands and the nurse's hands were guided by a light. And I saw that none of them can make a mistake. And this thing like, oh, there are no mistakes in the universe. I saw that there was no mistakes in the universe. Even when one of the nurses fumbled an IV bag and it landed on the gurney and everybody, gave her these looks like, you clumsy, I saw what happened was that when she bent down to pick it up, her head moved away from one of the monitors. Another nurse in another part of the room ran to that part of the room and made an adjustment that probably saved my life. No mistakes in the universe. Then I noticed that I could see the power of people's words and thoughts. I could feel the thoughts of the people who figured I was probably going to die anyway. True. And they were just kind of like, another day in the emergency room. True. I hope she dies soon because I want to get home. Anyway, and then there were people who really, really wanted me to live. And then the most amazing thing happened. By then, my former husband had arrived. The healer had called him, and we were still very, very close. And he was distressed. And as a matter of fact, he was sitting next to me to my left, and I could see like tears going down his face because it did not look like I was going to live. And then I saw one of the nurses go over to him and put her hand on his shoulder and say, "Don't worry, she's going to be fine." And as the words came out of her mouth, I saw that the words were accompanied by a light. It was kind of like a sparkly light. It was kind of pink. It was kind of like My Little Pony rainbow, like doo-doo. It went out of her mouth. "She's going to be fine," and into my body. And the words "she's going to be fine" made me fine, made my body stronger. Then a few minutes later, the doctor came in and he looked at the monitors, and this really tense kind of urgent voice, he went, "Get that blood pressure up or we're going to lose her." And when he said those words, "we're going to lose her," I saw them come out of his mouth, accompanied like by this brown gray gunk kind of an energy. It even smelled bad. It smelled like a swamp. Okay. In that place between life and death, "we're going to lose her," and went out of his mouth and into my body. And it completely weakened my physiology. So here I am clinging to life by a thread. And I have the clear realization that if everybody in the room would just turn to me and say or think, "She's going to be fine," I could have gotten up off the gurney and headed off to the gym and had a workout. Actually, if you ever saw the movie, What the Bleep Do We Know? You'd know that there is ample scientific evidence proving that matter and reality are affected by our words and our thoughts. In fact, a few years ago, a dear friend of mine, a woman named Lynn McTaggart, began a global movement called the Intention Experiment. And the Intention Experiment is a series of scientifically controlled experiments testing the power of intention to actually change the physical world. Thousands of volunteers from about 30 countries around the world participated in the Intention Experiment with like astonishing results, all of which have been verified by leading research institutes, including physicists and psychologists at Princeton and Cambridge and the International Institute of Biophysics and the Institute of Noetic Sciences. In her pilot experiment, Lynn asked a group of people based in London to direct their thoughts to 4 remote targets in a laboratory in Germany. And the targets were 2 types of algae, 1 plant, and 1 human volunteer. The people in London were asked to attempt to lower certain measurable biological processes in the 4 targets. Well, the results, the doctors at the German lab could not even believe it, but they found significant changes in all 4 targets. That means that the people in London, through their intention, just their thoughts, created changes in the algae, the plant, brought the plant back to life, just by the way, and even the human volunteers in Germany. And now Lynn has gone on to experiment with groups of people, putting their attention on each other's success and happiness and physical and emotional well-being through what she calls the groups of 8, or the power of 8. That's the name of her book, where 8 people put their attention on members of a group at one time. The miracles that these group intentions are creating for individuals are far beyond what they could generate themselves, including healings, loved ones being reunited, monetary windfalls, houses selling in 24 hours that have been on the market for years, lost pets showing up, and so much more. So this is all true. Wouldn't it be fantastic to have people around you who genuinely desire your success and happiness? Or better yet, why not get a group of friends who all agree to intention the fulfillment of each other's goals and desires? Put together your own group of 8 or 6 or 4 and see what magic you can create for each other. And maybe you might want to put your attention on the world while you're at it. And you also might want to take an inventory of your current comrades. It just might be time to clean house. By the way, in case you were wondering, I lived, but I actually made a deal with God as I was lying there in that space between life and death. When I saw the power of the nurse's words and the power of the doctor's words, I made two promises to the God of my understanding. I said, God, let me live. And I promise you two things. I will never say anything that I don't want to be true. I will never again say anything like, oh, my son is so this or so that, or my daughter, she's always this or whatever, because then I knew that I was contributing to them being this or that or whatever. I also promised God that I would tell the world the power of their thoughts and words about themselves and others, and the power of others' thoughts and words about them. So today, I am continuing to fulfill that promise. So thanks for listening. Hope what I shared was useful, and I wish you success, happiness, and lots of good people around you who wish you all best, as I do. Bye for now.